Everyone, to the regular meeting of the Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission. Today is February the 24th. Wow.
Yeah. 25th.
25th. Oh, and this is makeup for our previous last week snowed in day. So we're meeting at 3 o'clock here today in the odd. We'll do a roll call real quick, starting
Beth Giltner.
Ruth Mitchell.
Aaron Borey.
Mark Ingram.
Ruth Gubenhager.
Rod Gray, Ken Trimble.
Sam Dudley.
All right, we've got the agenda. Everybody got the agenda in front of them?
Yes.
Okay, so any additions, subtractions, any motions to approve?
I move to approve the agenda. I'll second.
Motion by Ruth.
I'd like
second
to
by
make one correction.
Beth. Okay,
Could I have my name correctly spelled? It's not B-U-L-L, it's Trimble, B-L-E.
BLE.
Yep.
T-R-I-M-B-L-E. Okay,
Noted.
got it.
Thank you.
Oh, was that was on the last month's minutes? Oh, okay, I was like, where do you even see that? Okay.
We'll correct that. All right, so we have a motion by Ruth and a second by Beth Giltner for approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? That's 6-0. How about that? All right, minutes from the previous meeting. You should have a copy in front of you and should have had one sent probably a while ago. And does anybody have any questions or anything need to discuss? Except that we will correct Ken's spelling of Ken's last name.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from the
Second.
regular meeting of whatever the date was. Sorry, I forgot about the date.
January 21st.
January 21st, 2025. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion by Ruth and a second from Rod. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. All right. We have no public for public comments, so we'll move on past that. Chairperson's comments, I want to say thank you guys. Wow, we're all here. Survived the Snowmageddon and changing of the meeting times and all that kind of stuff, so thanks for that. I also want to say that if you haven't driven past Basin Park, I think it's a good thing to look at and see what we've been accomplishing down there and what you voted for to happen. If you can't see it from the street, look up, because the staircase that didn't really understand what Sam was completely saying, but now you can see it. All the work they've done up above the gazebo, up above that looks fantastic. And I know he'll talk more about what's happening at Basin Park.
I was going to leave that out, actually. It's no big deal.
Oh, yeah. Kind of a big deal. But yeah, I'm really excited and impressed and just really watching it every day, try to drop by and just see what they did today. So it's pretty exciting. And that's really all I have. So we'll turn it over to Sam for the director's report.
Oh. Did usually, I guess, committee reports come first, but I guess I put it in the agenda. I'll change it for next time. We can do those
Yeah, it should sort of be,
afterwards.
it should be reversed, the committee's reports.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, so it's just upside down here.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we have a committee except for the finance committee, and we've gone through this year's audit we talked about already. We're up to date on our bank reconciliations. We probably have one right now, getting close to being ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's really nothing else on that. So now we'll move on to the chairperson.
Yeah, so it's been another productive month, although slightly strange given all the, I got the flu and then all the weather and just been kind of stop, start. And So we've gotten a lot done. It's just been a little bit hectic with all that, plus all the holidays. So we got additional funding for Basin Park. That's sort of the big highlight. In addition to the Banks Family Foundation grant, we got an additional $54,000 from CAPC and another $21,000 from Eureka Springs Preservation Society.
Awesome.
So big shout out to both of those organizations. So far that means we've raised about $150,000 for enhancements to the park for this year. So park better look good. Yeah, so the projects that we're doing, in case, you don't know, that Mark alluded to, this is for you guys also, for people listening in. We're going to plant 6 large trees, 4 along the front of the park to replace the ones, and then 2 on either side of the fountain, kind of, on either side of it. It's kind of symmetrical. So these will be 4 to 6 inch caliper trees. It's a pretty big project. We're talking somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 for all the trees. So, reconstruction of the fountain itself, obviously. We're going to get that powder coated, sandblasted and then powder coated, and it's going to look really nice, and redo the plumbing and the electric underneath it, so that makes sense. Then we got the resurfacing of the plaza, so we're going to redo the whole thing with a new layer of stamped concrete. So it'll be very even, no more of the whoa as you're walking through the park. It's going to look really nice. Renovation of the stairway from the gazebo to the upper walkway, which Mark was referring to. And a lot of other smaller things. I can talk more about them if you guys want to know, but they're kind of landscaping and gardening sort of things. But it's going to be, should be really cool. So.
Well, I think it's worth talking about one of the reasons, because when we first started this, we weren't thinking that we were going to do all the stamped concrete.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Why that's happening, and
So we went into this thinking we were going to have to dig out the whole center of the park all the way down to the subsurface level, to the tunnels underneath. Turns out we got done with deconstructing the fountain, and we found out the reason why it was sinking was because there was no footer underneath it. So it was just stone sitting on top of sand and dirt, and there
That
was no
makes
real
sense.
structure to hold it up. So the water that was getting underneath the fountain was kind of slowly eating away at that stuff underneath, which obviously that's why it was kind of tilting forward. The whole thing wasn't sinking. It was more the nose of it. So once we figured that out, we were like, well, we got all this equipment here. We got funding. What else can we do? And we looked at the McClellan engineering plan that was put together last year or the year before. And part of it was, resurfacing the whole plaza. So we decided, let's switch gears. We got with HTC, they approved it, and here we are.
And we also were able to add in some sprinkler system kind of thing. For all
Yeah,
the
we're going to
trees and
redo
everything,
utilities, so redo the electric and the water, so that we actually have hydrants in the park for watering the plants, and electrical boxes in more strategic locations, so that we can, really it's mostly for Christmas, I guess, but any other time we need to use electric in the middle of the park, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. It's going to be it's still going to be Basin, but it's going to look totally different.
Definitely refresh.
Here in a couple months, yeah, at most.
I don't remember with the McClellan plan, the stamped concrete part of that. What did they, or what is the plan to make sure that there's not water sitting on the concrete? How's the water flow when the rain with the watering? Did they take into account?
That's a
Whatever
good
that's called.
question. That's a good question.
I remember talking about that when we looked at the plan a year ago, whenever it was, and I'm pretty sure that they mentioned it too. It's the low impact development
Okay.
process of making sure you don't have water that's going to be
That's actually really
running
good.
off
Puddling
concrete
up,
into the
yeah.
street or whatever. So I remember they made we had some thoughts about it, but I don't remember what they were.
No, those are good things to consider. I could definitely talk with Stacy about maybe putting in like drainage areas where, just small depressions where water can get in and just sink down into that dirt underneath, which is good for the trees too. I mean, it's
Yeah, well, like
the less water
gravel
we're
in
just
between,
shedding.
like, when we did some stuff in Caleb Springs years ago, remember we left some spots so there was gravel in between
Okay.
stones, so that water could go through the gravel into the ground versus sitting on top of the stones.
Yeah.
Again, I remember we talked
There will
about
be,
it, but I
there'll
can't
be
remember.
expansion joints,
Yeah.
like a grid pattern within the
Yeah,
plaza so that, water can get into those, but they're not huge. They're only, quarter of an inch thick or something, but
That's a really
That's a good-
question.
It
I'm
is
glad
a
you
good
brought that up.
Yeah.
Glad I
And
remembered it.
Stacy's pretty good about thinking about this stuff too.
You may have already thought about it. I
It's
just don't
definitely
remember.
worth an answer
yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
before it's
it's
poured.
something we should, I'll talk to him about that. Thank you for mentioning that.
Overall drainage, like French drains, there's some critical things that probably need to be
Yeah,
addressed.
for sure.
For the, go ahead. I was going to say a question about the electrical, but go ahead.
No, I was,
On the electrical, is there an option for, like, when we have booths set up for festivals and stuff that they could plug in? Is there going to be enough electrical power for that?
yeah, so each lamp post in the park currently already has an outlet box on it.
Okay,
And so, there's 4 in the front, there's 2 on the sides, there's also power up at the band shell, and then there's also power, there'll be power at the fountain, and then on each of the garden beds where the trees are, there'll be power. So I think
Okay.
we should be good. I mean, we can always, we could add more, but yeah, I
You
think we'll be
have too
okay.
many- Never have too many
We're
outlets.
actually, yeah,
they can stretch cords, but I mean, just making sure that,
Yeah, you don't wanna be running a
one
bunch of
plug-in for a
cables.
Christmas tree and nothing else. But I didn't know about the plug-ins at the light posts.
yeah,
So,
definitely don't want to be running cables across the whole park. It's a
No.
tripping hazard and
Right.
stuff, so.
okay, cool.
So I'll get with Stacy on that about drainage. Okay, at Leatherwood, we were supposed to do this last Friday. I forgot to change the date on the director's note. We had to change it to this Friday. We are still planning on doing the chinkapin seed planting, so we'll be planting native Ozark chinkapin seeds.
That's this Friday?
Yes. And we've invited, several people from the regional press, so newspapers and journalists and I think even someone from KUAF, Phil Hartman, or Pete Hartman?
Pete Hartman.
Pete Hartman, yeah.
Will any of the Chinkapin Foundation?
Yeah, Steve will be there, Steve Churchill, yeah.
Oh,
And we're hoping
Hobbs.
the Rosses, the current champion tree locals here in town will show up for it. That way they can meet their demise. No.
What time is it Friday?
11 a.m. And we'll have a booth set up, in front of the visitor center. And so it shouldn't take too long, but yeah, it's just a good event, good thing to, should be a beautiful day as well. So. We've been working on updates to our maps, hence why that's on the new business. There's trail modifications that we've been trying to work out, trying to make sense of a trail system that was built over 30 years. It's kind of trying to piece together the puzzle. We're also working on getting a logo for LLCP. We're working on maps for the bike park, getting those updated. And the big plan, the other big thing happening at Leatherwood is the baseball field. So first game's gonna be March 10th, and should be super fun. We're playing Decatur, which was a team that Coach Steve said he signed us up for that because he thought we could definitely win. So you don't want to start off with a loss. You don't want to open up the new field after 20 years and lose your game.
What time is that game on March 10th, Sam?
I don't have any wood to knock on. I had to look at it. I think it starts at 5.
Okay.
And there's going to be, he's trying to make a kind of an event out of it since it's the first game.
I think
Yeah.
they posted
So-
a schedule on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did post it on our Facebook
If you
page.
think about it, will you let us know? Mm-hmm. Because I think it'd be fun to go out there and do that first game.
You can
I
follow
agree.
us on Facebook.
I do follow you
I
a
know.
lot.
When I wrote this, I wrote down that we've contracted with Stephen Dickey, which we had planned on doing for developing an EAP, an emergency action plan for Lake Leatherwood Dam. However, after talking with Simon from Public Works, I think they're going to help us out with the engineering for a emergency action plan, since it's kind of tied in with Black Bass Lake, and they're pretty interconnected, and so we have to kind of do them together anyway. And it's a big project. It's one that, I mean, we could do it, but it's also, we appreciate the help, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty detailed. And of course, I'll touch on this later. We're trying to plan a workshop down there at the yard. March 1st, we will have someone moving into the Harmon Park apartment building, so that's good. We passed all the inspections. We also, this is getting into small stuff, but we hired an insulation companies to insulate all the attic spaces at Leatherwood and at Harmon, and it sure helped at the Harmon office.
Wow.
Woo, it was cold.
Bad.
It at least retains a little bit of the heat.
Good timing.
And planning for Jamboree has begun. We've got a couple, we got one of the music acts booked. We got fireworks scheduled. A lot of things are getting solidified. Got the, the bouncy house and the foam pit all nailed down and stuff. So it's a ways away, but it's a good thing to get down early. And then we're going to try to apply for a grant for the Leatherwood Bath House. I think we can get grant money, and we might as well take it. We can go one more year as is, but I think it's important to try to find as much money as we can for stuff like that, and it's available. So actually, Butch has said he's going to help develop a plan for it, a site plan. So once we have that, we can apply for the grant. And
Fantastic.
yeah, it'll be probably a matching grant. And I think that's about it.
Okay. We have no old business, so let's move on to the new business. And first item on new business is trail modifications.
So Jeff is our trails manager. He's pretty good with this app here, this CalTopo. So he went in there and actually added some things to this map to kind of give you an example. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the trails, but once again, we're just trying to make some sense out of a trail system that's pretty hectic. I'll say that. A little confusing. We get a lot of people get lost, especially in certain areas. We had to, come rescue one dude up on the older guy. Super nice, very sweet, but he got lost on a Lost Ridge Trail, of course. I mean, you should kind of expect that, I guess.
I've been there as well.
So we're just trying to make it to where, we can hopefully direct people a little easier so they know where to go. One of the things is, another thing too, this is more of a thing that I've kicked around before when I was director as well, but, or the trails manager. But we want to kind of rename the trails on the west side of the lake, because right now the Beecham Trail starts off as an access road on the west side, and then you cross the dam and you get to the east side, and it's like, it's a trail. It's like a hiking, biking, typical trail. And so they're very different, they feel different. So people might start off and think, oh, it's just an access road that goes all the way around, and they get to the other side, and it's not the case. So what we were thinking is, stop me if I'm getting too in the weeds here, but we're just going to label the Beecham, west side of Beecham as an access road. Change the current Fuller Trail to Beecham Trail. That way Beecham Trail is a loop that goes all the way around the lake that stays similar in terms of like the terrain and,
Will you do
kind of what you'd expect.
us a favor?
What?
Give us sort of a point of reference on this map to point our pens to.
Okay, yeah.
Follow you along, because they're not named here on the thing that I can see. I see Full Foster. Let's say,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah. It does not have that on there, does it? So Fuller Trail's on the west side of the lake, just below Foster Trail. No, closer to the lake from Foster, just to the east of it.
okay.
And it currently goes all the way from the marina area over to the dam,
Right. Okay.
or just short of the dam. So the goal there would be just to rename that so that Beecham Trail is one continuous loop around the lake that is similar in terms of terrain and
I vote for that.
yeah. Just so I mean, just yeah. And then we would change Shoreline Trail, which Shoreline's just sort of a random name we came up with. Doesn't really have any sentimental
Yeah.
ties to the park or anything. We would rename that to Fuller Trail because Fuller was a family that, you know, donated a lot of money to the park. We want to make sure we keep that name in the history. So I know it's a lot of little nitpicky stuff, but I think it makes sense.
So what do you need from us to,
Well, anytime we rename, I think we decided about a year ago that anything that basically like changes a map
yes.
was sort of our, you know, stick for measuring stick on things. We would need to get approval.
Okay.
So I made a list of things.
Do we have that list?
I could pass it around, or I could just label it off.
Well, yeah, you just tell
It was
us.
in the, yeah. So renaming the west side of Beecham just to an access road. Changing Fuller Trail to Beecham Trail. Changing Shoreline Trail to Fuller Trail. Changing the yellow segment of Twin Knobs, which is kind of on the southeastern portion of the map. There's a yellow segment. Changing that to Heartbreaker Hill, which is what all the local people call it anyway.
For good reason.
Yeah. Changing the Twin Knobs Spur, the orange portion, to Powder House Trail. And we went with that name because there's an old historic powder house, you know, kind of at the base of where you start the trail. It's really cool. It's that old storage building. And then changing the purple section of the Twin Knobs to, we were struggling to come up with a name, and I was like, there's someone who's been on this commission for a long time who maybe deserves a name.
I think so.
So we were thinking about naming that to Hager Hollow if
Oh.
Ruth
Sounds good.
Hager is okay with that.
I like that.
That's funny.
So that purple section you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where the full MH is written?
No, I'm sorry, the purple, kind of like right in the center, towards the bottom right
Oh, down
quadrant.
It
here.
looks like, it looks like.
Like a
the way
railroad
you have
track.
that on there, it looks like
Which road?
you just drew a line, you went, never mind.
I know.
She's crazy, let's go.
I just called it something else, yeah.
I should have really looked at this from a perspective of like, you know, if you don't know the trail system very well. I took this from Jeff, and it's like me and him obviously know it. We know every corner and every
Yeah,
turn, and
You guys would say, oh, there's a tree right there.
yeah.
Come up
We
Jerry
can't do
Tyler.
You know that rock right
You know
there.
that rock. Yeah, okay, so just to be, I want to, just so we're following you really closely here, and
Yes.
if you want to, so I'm going to go back to Heartbreaker Hill, where you have that written in there.
Uh-huh.
It's currently one thing.
It's currently called Twin Knobs, which Twin Knobs is very confusing because it goes, it starts where that new parking lot is, and then it like splits immediately, which is confusing.
You're right.
And then it goes down, and then it like shares a portion of Bench Loop, and then it goes, it's really
So
all
the
over the
whole
place.
thing would now be called
Just the yellow segment.
just the yellow, okay.
Yeah.
And would the other part still be Twin Knob?
Twin Knobs would still be from the top of Heartbreaker down to Bench Loop. We would not change that,
Okay,
which makes it feel more like just one continuous trail that goes from point A to point B.
okay.
So that's a spot where people get lost a lot. So that's why we're
And right now,
addressing it.
what you have labeled here is Powder House.
Yes,
Is
the orange.
currently nothing, or,
It is currently known as Twin Knobs Spur Trail.
which is basically nothing?
So I mean, Twin Knobs is all over the place. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay. And then we have this purple section, which doesn't have a name.
which is also Twin Knobs.
So we,
currently. So we would
So-
change that to Hager Hollow.
okay, love
You can
that.
see why we're,
I can. That's what we're just going to make sure this is making sense as we go through here. And so the other change, this orange part at the top that says Full Foster,
Yes, that's where I was looking.
we're not changing Foster Trail.
Okay.
But the one below it, Fuller Trail, we're changing Beecham West to an where the access road is. We would
Yeah.
just change that to we'd just label it as an access road on the maps.
okay.
People can still use it, but we just want to let them know what it
It's
is.
not-
It's
okay.
not really a trail, it's an old access road.
Is that the one that's labeled 7.7 tenths of a mile? Or is that
It's
the one
that starts.
0.5 and 0.2?
It's the one that starts, it's labeled .5,
And 0.2?
just above
.4.
Foster Trail, just to the left of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have brought some maps. I could run upstairs and go get them.
Needs a
There's
bit like a big
maps in the lobby
point
up there. I
that
could
you
go
can point
grab
to
some.
with a- Need like a big one on an easel you can point to. You need a Vanna White.
Okay. And what else do we need to know?
Shoreline becomes Fuller Trail, and then Fuller Trail on the west side of the park, which that's where it is, becomes Beecham.
But it is-
Sorry.
But it is part of Beecham. I mean, it is. So now it's Beecham. Oh. Right? I'm getting confused by that part too.
Show me where she's. The part
Do you want me to run up there and grab some maps? There's probably,
Yes.
there really probably is some just right up
Probably
there.
are at the top.
Yes,
That's a good
actually,
idea.
that might be handy. This is kind of a big boat,
It is. It's a lot of.
and I want it to be right. And I
Like-
don't want people voting just because they say, I don't understand it.
Yeah, no.
I do actually understand
It's
it,
this little access thing up
but
here.
I've hiked these so many times that
Yeah, and I'm just confused what he's saying with the shoreline.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not really recognizing the short part.
we can share.
I see Beecham
So
Trail.
are
That's
are
the
these going to be
0.7
abandoned?
tenths of a mile.
We just,
Shoreline, right there, 7 tenths. It's right under the word Foster.
Oh, okay.
That trail would be shoreline.
Oh, okay. So Sam, this is shoreline right here?
well, here, you want to look at this?
Okay.
Take up, right,
We already-
full.
Should have thought about this a lot sooner.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
So
yeah,
right in
this
this
will make
area.
way more
Yeah,
sense.
make sure.
There's shoreline.
There's when,
Sorry, did not intend this to be,
Got it.
Okay, so this makes way more sense over looking at this map.
Very good, thank you.
Well, this will make rescues and things easier too, if people, if the trail is a cohesive thing, they can say, I'm on this trail, and they'll know they are.
also having all the access roads labeled as access roads helps with emergencies because then the fire department,
No, it's not the one.
they're probably not all super familiar with the trail system. If they can look at it and say, oh, that's an access road, we can drive a side-by-side or some kind of vehicle down there,
Right.
then it helps with that as well.
See, this purple one is Twin Knobs, and the yellow one is Twin Knobs
I didn't
Spur.
realize how skinny they were.
And then this yellow over here has a name that first time.
Yeah. A long time ago, I was on there, and it's crazy up there anyway. Forgot where you are.
More oval shape.
It's actually a long ways from there.
Yeah. it is.
I feel like a newcomer.
And brave and rode my bike. And so I injured myself.
Little tricky.
I decided I'm too
Little
old to get
tricky.
injured.
I'm way too old for that too. Come to understand what I
I can see I get stuck on the same trails every time I go out there. I need to go do the other one.
Okay, so let's go back to the marinas here. Oh, Beecham.
Yeah, like when you go in the marina, you can go and get on that beach and,
I need to do these.
I think is he saying this is,
Which ones?
This is the
Yeah.
point.
I need to do these over here.
Oh, yeah.
Because I keep doing this.
Keeping Beecham.
So that's like right
And
here.
I get in this sometimes, but I never do. And I need to do
Oh,
this.
does it?
He was saying that-
Have you done Overlook Trail yet?
shoreline
Yeah, Miners Rocks,
called Fuller.
So I need to really
Part-
explore
I
this.
think this part of,
So it is part, I mean, this is all. So the road comes in.
There's some part of Beecham.
A lot of cool stuff over there, but a lot of it's, like downhill mountain biking only, so it's kind of,
Going back to this one.
but yeah, it's cool stuff. There's some beautiful terrain.
Go from there, and we go over here, and we go over the thing.
Okay, yeah, I'm backwards. There's the road.
You knew it.
Little thing right here.
You knew all this stuff.
No.
So we come down, we go over the dam. And so, yeah, okay.
On a side note, I was thinking it'd be really, like we have all these CCC things marked,
Yeah.
I do think it'd be cool if like there's a trail going by them anyway, like
So
we
Foster,
could get some plaques or some kind of,
stay Foster, just like
informational
Foster.
things. Tells the history of them as you
And
walk
then-
by. Because they're labeled, but then you get there and it's like,
I think he said it's just
there's
going to
no
be called
information about
Access
it.
Road.
so,
We need this part right here.
Did you have a hand in the Black Bass ones? Those little ones that go around the lake loop that are like yay big?
That goes broke.
We're all acting like we know that access road. And I'm like, but I'm not sure on this map where the access road.
Show us what part of Beecham Road exactly you're going to take and turn to. I mean, I know, I remember walking on it.
Just the whole west side of beach, so like the west side of, as in terms of the lake, the west side of the lake, that chunk of Beecham would become just an access road.
That whole thing. And then Beecham.
Oh, I know. It's
And then on the east side of the lake, it's still Beecham, but then Fuller on the west side becomes Beecham, and then that way you got the one right there.
I totally
this-
know what you're talking
okay,
about
this
now.
becomes-
My mind was not going there, but now I see what
I see, this becomes Beecham, actually, the
Yeah.
real trail.
The real
And
trail.
this is the access road.
That's
Okay.
the wide version that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
All right. Makes sense to me more now. Everybody else makes
yeah.
sense to.
Way better.
Y'all got it over there?
I think it would be wise to have a revision date on here so that you would know whether
Oh.
you're in the new map or the old one or for the next step.
Yeah, we're working on a new batch of them right now.
No, that's
so-
a really good idea, because I have a lot of these in my guest house, and they're float around, and they end up with some are old and some are new.
Yeah, it would be
Maybe-
wise to have the revision date on.
Maybe here, just right here on the front.
Okay.
Maybe just put a little red circle or some kind of indicator, well, 2024, 2025.
Spring 2025.
Revision 3, revision 27 million and a half.
Okay, so let's get back to business and so, Sam, obviously, every single one of those requires a vote by the commission.
Yes.
I would say that any more discussion on any of these? Why don't you let somebody who wants to make a motion have the list in front of you?
Okay.
Because that'll make it a lot easier, and then ultimately, let's give that to Aaron for the minutes to be perfect.
And can we do the motion all in one? With
Yes, I think we can do the
That's what I'm
motion
gonna do.
all in one, but he's going to read them
Okay.
all exactly the list that Sam submitted to us.
This motion is to make trail modifications to the labeling of these trails. Beecham West will be named Access Road. Fuller Trail will now become the Beecham Trail. Shoreline Trail becomes the Fuller Trail. Twin Knobs Yellow segment becomes Heartbreaker Hill. Twin Knobs Spur to the Upper Bench Loop in orange becomes Powder House Trail. And Twin Knobs in purple becomes a portion of now named Hager Hollow.
Is that it?
That's it? We have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. All those in favor of these trail modifications?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Good job, Sam.
Good job, Sam.
Congratulations, Ruth. You
Yeah,
well
Very
deserved.
nice, thank you.
Well deserved.
wonderful.
I'll try to make those more clear in the future. Sorry, that was,
I think a big map next time, that we can all.
okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, a pointer.
A power- yeah.
Could you bring a?
Just make sure there's no cats in here.
PowerPoint.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Okay, then our next item on business is Leatherwood Workshop. Sam's going to talk to us about that.
Yes, so,
You need this, Sam, for now?
oh, you can keep it. That's okay. As you can see, I just, there's a website where you can kind of do a CAD model, a workshop. Obviously, we're not building ours in Idaho. as you can see from this background. But it would go down at the yard, you know, where that carport is, kind of off Mulday Hollow Trail. And it's a thing we've been kicking around for a long time. And Carroll Electric came out and they're like, hey, you guys got to change some stuff up with your electric system down here. So when that happened, I took the opportunity to ask, you know, like, hey, if we do this, what would it take for us to run some electric over here so we could, you know, wire an actual workshop? And he's like, well, I don't really care what you do after the meter. That's up to you guys. We'll just move the meter to a different location so you can do that. I was like, great. I've talked with a couple contractors about pouring a pad. It'd probably be $3,000 or $4,000 to pour a pad, depending on the size, concrete pad. And then this company here, I'm not saying we necessarily have to go with them, but it just gives you a ballpark figure. This building here was approx, I think it was $8,000 or $9,000. And that,
How many square feet?
it's 20 by 20 in the building, and then it has an additional 10 by 20 covered carport. And that includes the garage door, the entryway door, and 2 windows on either side. And they come down, they deliver it. They, once again, I'm not saying we're going to go with this company, but just gives you an idea. That includes delivery and installation.
So how does it relate to the trees in the area and the new bathroom we're going to build
This would not relate to that.
at all?
No.
Okay.
No. This would
So-
be down at the yard. I don't know if you,
Where?
we call it the yard. Actually, we call it the boneyard, but I don't like to call it that. But
Okay.
This is for
If you think about it,
storage.
Ruth, when you're driving down the main road, if I'm wrong, tell me. But you'll see over to the side down a ways, there's a whole yard.
yeah.
And it's really sort of off the main road. You were saying off a trail, but you can see it from the main road off, right?
Yeah.
To the right. And it's basically our only storage place. And it's not really storage, it's just space. And we can't really lock anything up. I think we did end up putting a fence around
We have a
it.
fence up so people can't really drive back there, but there's nothing, I
There's
shouldn't
nothing
say
to
this in
protect anything
a
we
public
have
meeting,
from the
but
weather, from people,
it's all
from anything
pretty
else.
open.
So, and we sort of have no place to work on anything, build anything, for the guys to do their own stuff, you know, because there's just no place for them to do it. Put tools.
I did a lot of construction in that yard. It was frustrating.
But you can see it from the main road when you're going in. It's on the, not past, I mean, way before you get to the main buildings.
Down by Verna Mayberry's old house.
It's,
Cabin
there's
one.
something in front of it.
There's like a
Yeah,
little
that cabin
cabin right by it,
Yeah, that's what I'm
too.
saying. There's a-
And then you'll see it's down below.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a tractor around there or something, equipment, stuff.
Yeah. It's a good site for a workshop. I mean, it's kind of close, but it's tucked away to where it's not an eyesore. People don't really
Right.
And
notice
it's
it.
level.
Yeah, and it's level, which is amazing. It's got dirt, it's not rock. So it's, if we need to dig, which, you know, it won't be hard to dig anything, 'cause it's got plenty of soil. It's not like digging through glades or anything. And we already got some of the stuff there. That's where the pump house for the well is that supplies the water. And so there's already utilities and a little bit of infrastructure, but we just need a place where we can lock stuff up and keep it covered and safe, and, you know, a place to work when it's raining or, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just go back to be clear exactly what you're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would ask to, you know, like I said, we're not going to have the funds to do the bathhouse this year. That'll be a next year thing. So in lieu of that, I was thinking it'd be nice to get something major done at Leatherwood that would be sort of a game changer. So I was going to ask for about $20,000, you know. I think it'll only cost approximately, I think it'll be under that, but it's nice to always ask for a little bit more and come under budget.
And this will
So-
come out of restricted Leatherwood funds?
Yes. Yeah. Or, I mean, it could come out of the general fund too. It serves,
No, I mean, that's why we have restricted Leatherwood funds,
yeah.
to do Leatherwood things.
You did say you're not set on this company doing it.
No, I just brought that in as sort of a model, just so
Okay.
visualization. So you
I can
guys-
give you the guy that did my garage.
Okay,
And it was a lot less than this.
okay,
And it's a 50 by 25.
nice.
So
Okay.
it's a lot less than this. So I'll give you his number and information. You
Yeah,
can
if you
contact
guys
him.
have any contacts, let me know.
Absolutely, I've got
I know
it.
there's like Floyd's metal buildings here locally and.
And they're
a few other
expensive.
companies, But, yeah, okay, we'll look around and,
And this exact shape of the tubing is like a 2x2 metal tubing. And that's exactly what I have.
okay,
And
yeah,
it's rated to be 120 mile an hour wind, destruction level, so
Yeah.
resistance. So I'll give you his number.
okay, cool. It's nice that this company allows you to do this, at least that way you have a model you can show to other people and
Exactly.
you're like, that's what we're looking for.
Well, let's go around and make sure, make sure everybody has discussion. Do you have anything to ask or talk to about that?
About this?
Yeah.
No.
Ruth?
No, I'm clear on it, I think.
No, not at this time.
Ruth?
No, other than we have talked about this for several years and put it on the budget and talked about it. I think it'd be good to make it happen.
I agree.
Opinion.
Ken? any
I'm
thoughts?
good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve up to $20,000. Is that good? Okay, to build the workshop for Lake Leatherwood.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Rod and a second from Ruth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
I cannot wait to be whisked away to the hills of Idaho.
I know, your own private Idaho.
I know, I went finishing 3 years on the thing, and we have been talking about that just every year since I've been doing it because we just had such a problem with crap being down there. Even mowers and
Yeah.
weed eater, everything. We have no real place to put it, so that's pretty.
And then we can
cool.
use that big carport for storing machines.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just to keep covered,
Right.
We can keep the keys in the workshop so they don't get stolen, but,
Absolutely. So that's exciting, and I love seeing things done, for a change.
And it'll actually save labor because there have been times over the years where, say, a piece of equipment you need is being stored up at the park's office and you need it down at Lake Leatherwood and you got to send somebody up there to get it, bring it down there. So I know it's been a long time
And not only
coming.
that, I think a lot of times when you don't have the space to do it or the place to put the tools to do it with, you send it out to be done.
Yes.
And you have people there that could do it, but they just don't have the space to do it. So I think a lot of things, I don't know if y'all have ever been around all of them at one time, but they come up with some crazy ideas. And they could actually do them if they had a space to do it.
I was cutting all the trail, you remember we did all the new trail signs at Leatherwood, and we had to cut up all those posts. We had to prep it was 50 6x6 posts. And I about lost my mind because I was going from the Harmon shop to the little tool shed behind cabin 1, back to the boneyard, back to the tool shed, back to Harmon. I was
Got
like,
no
this
work
is
done.
so inefficient. And then I'm like cutting all these posts in the middle of knee-high grass and it's 95 degrees outside. I'm just like, oh, why is this?
Okay, so that's done. And what I would also recommend with that is that next regular meeting that we have an updated budget.
Yes.
With this all reflected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which will be good because that'll be the quarterly, or no, wait, no, I'm sorry, that's April. Okay, I'll have that.
So, but I think that's something we all talked about before. It's just every time we do any kind of budget modification, let's get the budget back in our hands and maybe even a footnote as to why we have this updated budget, what we did specifically. So throughout the year, we can see where we actually modified the budget and specifically what for. Does that make sense to
Good
everybody?
idea.
Okay. Next on the agenda is commissioners' comments. Beth, you have anything?
I guess I'd just like to give another shout out of thanks to the Banks family, CAPC, and the Historical Preservation for their
Yeah.
funds
It's
to
a lot of money.
let us fix Basin Park finally,
It's a lot of money.
and everybody working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruth?
Absolutely. It's amazing. The money came, and you're doing a great job, it sounds like. I would still like us to have a workshop out at Leatherwood sometime this spring
Uh-huh.
where we can walk around and kick rocks and look it all over.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mark and I talked about that recently, about we were just kind of waiting for the weather to warm up and for daylight savings time to roll around so that, it made sense to go out there and not just
Yeah.
freeze in the dark.
Yeah, and one of the things that I told Sam, and I'll say this is part of your, because it goes with what your comment is. I don't want to have workshops just for workshop's sake because it's what if we don't have a specific thing to do, but right now because of the winter, we don't really, we can't go to all the little things that we want to do, but we want, the minute the weather is where we can do it, we definitely want to go out and do that. Look, we've been talking about looking at
Let's
the
see the
cabins,
cabins, yeah.
and all that, and I think it's time to go revisit the bathhouse and, do those kind of workshops where we're out actually seeing things and putting our hands on it. And so if anybody has any workshop ideas that we could sit at Harmon Park and sit around and do it. I know that I'm going to have the bylaws at some point where we have to sit down and kind of go through it. I know. It's just one of those things you look at and you go like, oh man, not today. But we'll get to it. But anyway, that's really good, and I definitely want to do that. I think everybody agrees they want to do that too. Aaron, anything?
Nothing from me?
Ruth?
Nothing, thank you, other than I'm excited that baseball's back. Thank you for the donations we received for that and the work that's been done.
I'm very happy with all of our achievements, so thank you, everybody.
Again, anything?
Yeah, I'm just really pleased to see what's happening right now, the work that's being done. I think it's all doing really well. The Basin Park is starting to look really great. The access to the stairs up there is looking really fine, in spite of the weather
Yeah.
and sickness.
Yeah.
And I was out at Leatherwood Ball Fields just a couple days ago, and I'm real impressed with the work that the baseball group is getting together out there. It's looking really fine. And so, yeah, and thankful for all the groups coming together as one to make it all happen financially, too.
Yeah, it's a nice change. One thing I'll throw out too on that is Rye is working on doing a softball leagues, and he's been really kind of trying. So if you know anybody who, they still need, how many more people? But they still need, I think, maybe 18 more people to make it really viable to have a full slate of people to do a softball league. So if you know anybody or can get the word out that they're trying to do that, I don't know if I know Rye's last name.
I think it's Clark.
Rock Clark,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. At Legacy Barbershop. So if you guys are interested, please check out that. And for the public that's listening, he's signing everybody up and trying to get that all organized so we can really make even more use of the baseball fields. All right. Anything else, Ken?
I'd second that as far as having a workshop out at Lake Leatherwood. I'd really like to do that, yeah.
On that note, I'm just looking at my calendar. If we were to move our workshop to March 11th next month, I don't know obviously we all have to look at our schedules, but if we could just put that in the back of your mind to look at your schedule and see if you're free, we could move it back a week and do it out at Lake Leatherwood because that'll be after daylight savings time. And then we could also maybe move it forward an hour, like maybe we meet at 5 instead of 6, if Tuesday evenings are generally okay with people to do that.
Bad idea, yeah.
And then that way we have time to actually go look at the cabins, go look at the bathhouse. We're not pressed for time, so.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
I know, I got
11th
a
at
lot of
5.
those, Rod.
Every now and then he comes up with one.
And you'll send us a memo so that we'll be reminded.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. And now we have the final.
You looking at me because you want me to make?
I was not
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
A second.
I have a motion from Rod and a second from Ruth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0.